want to say thank you to Ed Romano for being one of the speakers today on the panel and did a class act up there. Ed is a executive vice president with Asset Living and here in Atlanta. And I think one of the greatest things he has is he's led teams. He's been through multiple cycles, the growth of the company, acquisitions over time, and would really love to ask you, Ed, can you share a little bit about your leadership style, maybe a little about talent, and how you think about culture as a leader?
Back when I had darker hair, I thought I was really good at hiring. And one day I had an ownership group go to my boss back in the day and say, we love Ed, he's great, he's got a fantastic personality, but we really just don't quite understand why we don't have better leaders working for our group. And be candid, all of us maybe think that we don't have an ego, but when somebody does that evaluation of you, it really makes you rethink about what kind of leader you are and what kind of leaders you want to surround yourself with. So the long story short is I had an opportunity at one point in time. I was doing some teaching, and I won't go into with the material, but in teaching this material to a group on Sunday, hint, what that's going to be, it occurred to me that some of this material I'm going over has qualities I never thought about. And so I began to think a little bit about not just what leadership was, but how do you develop a leadership culture? So I began hiring people with 3 words. Now, prior to this, our boss had asked us to come up with 10 words to hire from, and I used those 10 words and gave it to him, tried to come up with fun acronyms. But when I went through this material and I applied it, it changed not just my career. I've hired 8 of the RVPs that work for First Communities. Many of those have been promoted to upper management positions, and these are the words that we use. When we interview someone to go into our business as a leader, we're trying to evaluate whether you're responsive. And what is responsive? I've kind of detailed that there are probably 7 different areas that you want to be responsive to, whether it's vendors, owners, your team. But really sharp people know how to be responsive. You want to talk to anybody that's a client or a resident, what really bothers them was when nobody acknowledges them or their key thing that they're looking for goes unsupported. But somebody who's responsive knows how to evaluate and put in order what the needs are and get back. So responsive was the key word. The second word I looked for was alive. Now, a lot of people would use the word focus today. I don't. I prefer the word alive. And when I hire people, I give them an example of an individual that had an alive mind, that loved what they were doing, and I use Martin Luther King. Because here's a gentleman who came from poverty, who just had a construct of what he wanted to do, and he began it with a conversation, probably with another preacher. And they had a conversation with another preacher, and they started having conversations with congregations. But if you ask me how one man, not single-handedly, but spearheaded, and then with others like-minded, again, building a culture of like-mindedness, he changed the world. He changed us. He changed the United States. He changed how people are perceived. But when you're an on-site manager and you love what you do, and you love leading people, when you wake up, you already have a game plan. Not only do you have your game plan, you have your game plan for your assistant manager, your leasing people. These are samples of someone who has a alive mind. So regardless of your leadership position, if you're alive, you're planning, you're thinking, you're plotting. And the last one I changed a few years ago, I went to an NAA seminar, and one of the instructors there was the topic was likability. And it occurred to me that there have been situations in the past where an owner asked us to make a change, and I narrowed it down that when we took out what we thought was a good person, it's simply because the client couldn't determine whether or not they felt that person was bought in. Mm-hmm. I call it icing on the cake. So everybody can make a good cupcake, but a cupcake is nothing until you put that icing on the top. When you hire people with likability skills, no matter who that person is, whether it's a client who interacts with that person or a vendor who interacts with that person, your reputation goes up. And the important thing about likability is that when you screw up, if you're likable and people believe you're bought in, you get a second chance, sometimes 3. But since we started hiring with those 3 keywords and everybody had a high score in that, our culture just took off. Now I work with an inner circle of people that I trust. We all interface with each other. We all get along. It just drops all the egos to say, okay, we're all on the same page, and we have a very similar skill set with very different personalities. So that's my little snippet on culture and leadership.
Love it. So the three elements to repeat them back: responsiveness,
Responsiveness,
being alive,
Yep.
and likability.
likability. You got
Love
it.
it. From a true leader, thank you so much for joining us, Ed. Amazing to see what you've done in your career and what you continue to do. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and
Yeah.
not storing it, but sharing it with others and lifting up others around you.
I appreciate that opportunity.
Appreciate it. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us at IMN Atlanta. See you soon.